Okay, we'll try this again. For some reason, I think it was my internet connection was getting really bad there for a minute there. Anyways, so here we are. I haven't done a live stream on the GP Vlog channel in years, but yeah, I obviously have two channels running right now, two separate channels. I've got my Genetree Solar channel as well as this channel, the GP Vlog channel. This is my OG channel. This is the one that got me started on YouTube, and haven't really paid too much attention to it in a while. So I figured I would let you guys know on things that are going on. As I said before the video cut out, is I did post a 40-minute long video on everything that's going on. I have not forgotten about the Grand Prix. It's just that my priorities had to move around and shift a little bit in order to make things basically work so that my life can move forward. It has nothing to do with me being insane or anything else like that. It's not like I went into a mental hospital or anything. It's just that life has been extremely busy. I'm getting married here next October. We're going to be moving, and there's all sorts of things that have to go on in order to make that happen. But I figured that I'd get on here and kind of talk to you guys for just a little bit. I don't have too much time because unfortunately I still work two jobs and I have to be at my other job tomorrow morning at 2 a.m. That job is coming to a close, fortunately. So that'll give me more time to be able to pursue my dreams, the business and things like that. But anyway, so you guys who haven't seen any of the stuff that's going on recently, you know that I work for PowerJack. I do have some PowerJack videos on this channel. And then almost 2 years ago, I decided to separate the two channels because I had people who were saying, put up more car videos. And then when I would do car videos, people say, well, I want more renewable energy videos. And it became a huge mess. So I just decided that I was going to, um, basically separate the two channels. That way, all my renewable energy and power jack stuff is all going to be on one side. The car stuff is all going to be on the other side. And so that's basically it. That's kind of how it all worked out. And it's been pretty nice, but this channel's still growing. And to my surprise, it's still growing. So I guess I just kind of I need to get more into this channel again, basically, where this is where my start was, and it's it's kind of funny that it all started with just me wanting to do something different on YouTube, and that was just me basically doing drive along videos, and when I had my Grand Prix, my '04 Grand Prix, my Comp G. If you guys remember that or not, those of you early subscribers will remember that '04 Comp G. Um, they you didn't see too many of them. You really didn't. You still don't. The Comp G was not a super popular trim level, and I learned a lot over the years as far as what was all offered and things like that. But I eventually upgraded to the GXP, which had the V8, and just kind of went from there, I guess. And Yeah, it just kind of exploded. I started doing. There were some frustrating things about the Pontiacs that I was fed up with. I guess so I started doing videos, and it's difficult to find the information on either YouTube or the internet or anywhere else. And so I just started taking matters into my own hands, I guess, and I started doing videos on it. I learned a lot over the years, a lot of different things. I had a lot of criticism at first when I first got the GXP. There was a lot of people who were just like, "Oh man, you made a mistake. You should have stuck with the 3800 supercharged because you can do so much more with it." And they had a point, but there were things about the car that I wanted that I wasn't going to get. It wasn't about raw performance and numbers. And sure, I could have spent 4 or 5 grand on the Comp G and really made it move, but that's not what I wanted to do. I was looking at a GXP from the start. At the time that I bought the Comp G, I'm trying to think of the year it was when I actually bought it. It was either '07 or '08 when I picked up that Comp G. And at the time, it was a high mileage. It was a high mileage car, so I got a decent deal on it. And hey, started making videos on it and started showcasing some things that were obviously wrong with it and things that I had to do to it. Drive along videos, man. I spent so much time with so many different mounts trying to get it to work perfectly. I had a Kodak, it was ZI6 or ZI7, I can't remember. Maybe it's ZI8. I haven't had that camera in so long, I don't remember. But I mounted it to the windshield or the passenger window to try to give a perspective. What's up, Blake? '06 GXP. How long have you had it? And what color and stuff like that. um, but what literally started with me just doing drive along videos. It, I look back, actually, it's funny because just recently I was looking back at some of my old videos on this channel, and because YouTube just did this thing, this COPA thing where you have to, or COPPA, whatever you want to call it, um, the uh, the whole age restriction thing. So I was just kind of browsing through some of my old videos, and I decided to make the channel not appropriate for kids. I don't think it is anyways. It's too bad that there's a middle ground there where it's not appropriate for kids, but it doesn't exclude kids, I guess. That just because you're under 13, there's a lot of videos that are not offensive or anything else like that I've got on my channel, that wouldn't be bad for kids necessarily. Bad. I mean, I don't think YouTube has really done a very good job implementing this feature. They really need a middle ground button rather than an all or nothing button, uh, or setting. But I ended up setting my channel to basically not be kid friendly. And I feel really bad for some of the content. Even when I live stream, it seems like I still get messages and whatever. But anyways, what was I talking about? So yeah, the YouTube thing that's going on right now. So I just kind of went through my old videos and was just kind of looking at some of the content that I had out there, and so it's funny looking back to some of the really old videos that I have. Way back in what would have been 2010, I think, maybe even earlier than that, and seeing this, how much younger I looked, almost 10 years younger, and the lengths that LS2, huh? In the GXP, you're going to be putting. Wait a minute. You're going to be putting an LS2 in a Grand Prix or maybe in a G8? Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, you have to let me know what you're planning. But, uh, excuse me. I've got this weird throat thing going on right now. The weather changing and stuff like that. But, so anyway, um, it's just funny looking back at some of my old videos to see how far I've actually come. And what I set out to do when I first started this channel was I wanted to be different and unique, have drive along videos where I would talk, you would be the passenger. And that's really what I was aiming for. And I was looking for those videos on YouTube and I didn't see any. I really honestly did not see any of those videos out on YouTube. So, basically, when I was learning what camera to use, and I was looking for low light performance, which back then, 10 years ago, low light performance, it was hard to find something like that. But I ended up just expanding my channel to renewable energy, repair videos on the Grand Prix, things like that. And yeah, it's been a fun ride. But the renewable energy thing is still very strong. So, Blake, you're going to have to get me some videos on that because I want to see that. LS2 project, that's interesting. I want to see how that actually works. I don't follow Facebook anymore like I used to. I was a part of the, LS4 Nation. I still am, but I rarely get on Facebook anymore because it's literally a jumbled mess of ads, reposts, and just bullshit in general. I mean, it's always been kind of bullshit, but it used to be focused more on the family and your interests and things like that. So that's the way it used to be, and I was interested. I didn't just scroll through. I actually read posts and things like that, and I appreciate the comment. Um, trying, obviously trying my best to help anybody with any of their problems with their cars, but uh, so even the LS4 Nation, I don't even get on there anymore. I honestly don't. I don't know. Facebook to me is kind of dead. I mean, I can't tell you the last time I was on my Facebook page for this particular channel. I mean, I don't even have the Pages Manager installed anymore. So I don't even get messages on there anymore. So there might be some messages, and I apologize if you've messaged me on there. You can't get a hold of me. I mean, I don't know. Facebook is just, it's not interesting to me anymore. But anyway, so I don't really follow the Grand Prix scene anymore. It's not that I've fallen out of love with Grand Prix because I still have Rocket, which is the black car. I still have the GXP, which when did I get that? 2012, 2011? You guys might know. 2012, 2011, somewhere around there. Um, so I still have it. I'll never get rid of it. It's one of those cars that I'll never, never, ever get rid of. Despite all the cars that I'll get in my future, whatever, getting a Tesla or another truck or whatever, it doesn't matter what vehicle I get. I'm always going to hold on to that Grand Prix. Always. There's something about the way that it drives, the way that it looks, the way that it sounds, the way that it smells. Believe it or not, it's got a unique smell on the inside. I can't explain it. And every time I go out there to start the car because it hasn't run in a while, and I get into that seat and I just, there's just something about it and grabbing a hold of that steering wheel. Some of you might find that funny, but it's true. There's just something about that particular car. Maybe it's all just nostalgia or something that's coming at me. I don't have any idea, but I'll never get rid of that car. There is a guy who lives down the street from me who has it looks like an '06 Monty SS, and of course he's got the LS4, got some Magnaflow exhaust. I think it sounds Magnaflow, but the LS4 is such a unique sound, and every time I hear him drive by, I just get really mad, frustrated because I'm not driving my own car. But so yeah, that hasn't changed any of that. I still have the full desire to drive my Pontiac. It just comes down to time. Time is literally it. That's the only excuse I have is time. If I had more time, if I just had more time, but it won't take me more than a couple of days to yank that motor out. And once it's out, then I'll sell or basically give away the body. The body's still really good. The gray body. If I can just get somebody to come out and hoist it up on a trailer and take it, it's all yours basically. It's a GXP, so it's loaded with all the bells and whistles. There's a couple parts I'm going to take off of it, obviously, and move over, but it's got literally a fresh set of tires on it. The wheels aren't in really that good of condition, but I'm definitely going to be taking the wheels. I'd rather have Alcoa wheels. It's an '08, so it doesn't have the Alcoas, but they still look better than my black Dale Earnhardt Jr. American Racing wheels that I've got on the black car. But um, I'm still getting messages. No way to turn that off. It's Ryan. But yeah, it's literally it's time. Um, as of right now, because I work for PowerJack. Okay, so my company works for PowerJack. I own my own company. Some of you might know that I own Genetree Solar. That's my business, sole proprietor, limited liability corporation. It's mine. It's literally mine. Because my company does sales, service, support for PowerJack. You guys can see this room here. This is my workroom. These are all empty boxes. I like to hold on to boxes as long as possible because getting boxes from China is a slow process because they ship everything by boat. So it usually takes about 2 months. So I try to hang on to all the boxes and parts and everything that I can possibly hand to. But anyways, that's why it looks like that. Believe me, they're all empty boxes. But I'm building a garage shelf for my garage to try to clear a lot of this stuff out. So I moved the gray car out of the garage, and I'm going to be building some shelves out there. And then I'm going to pull the Grand Prix back in, excuse me, right in the middle of the uh, garage. And yeah, I'm going to start working on it. I have to. I figured that if I take 1 or 2 days solid, don't do anything else, just take 1 or 2 days, on a Friday and a Saturday maybe, and work on it, then I think I can get it done. The issue is I want to be able to get video of everything that's going on, not a live stream, but actually step by step. See, the first time that I did this, the very first time that I pulled the motor out of the Grand Prix, that would be the black car or Rocket. The very first time, um, I was learning. I was learning what to do. I had a lot of advice from people. There was a guy, and I'm so sorry I don't remember your name. It's been a long time since we talked, but he was the one who actually encouraged me to pull the motor out the top, which is a real polarizing. I just looking back at some of the videos when I was doing some live streams of me pulling the motor out the top, and it's just like, wow, there's people who are just so ready to go to battle over you shouldn't be pulling it out the top. You should drop the cradle because I know everything. Or no, you should pull it out the top because I know everything. And it's just like, you know what? I'm doing it the way that I want to do it. There's pros and cons to each, okay? Pros and cons. Maybe going out the top is more difficult, but that's the way that I'm doing it. That's the way that I know how to do it, and that's the way that I'm going to do it for the next 2 motor pulls. I've done it 3 times now, and so I'll do it a total of 5 times in 2 years. But so yeah, the motor pull, it's gonna happen. It shouldn't take that long, but again, I want to be able to do step-by-step stuff. As I was saying, the first time that I did it, I made some mistakes, and it was hard to chop together the video footage of everything that I was doing. Plus, things like, for example, the wheel well liner bolt. One of them broke, and it broke when I was on camera, so I had to try to reset it and all this other stuff. And I just remember then I didn't record it. I didn't hit the record button, and I was trying to sync my audio with my microphone that I had on at the time. And I didn't, I had the audio, and then there was another time when I accidentally plugged the microphone into the headphone jack of the recorder. So it was like all this, the audio was all messed up. And so awesome. But so this time I want to do it right. And I got it right the second time, but I was in such a hurry. For those of you who don't know, as far as what ended up happening, I pulled the motor the first time because the transmission was bad. It was the transaxle was completely shot. So I bought the rebuild kit, and I had a shop rebuild the transmission. Now, I saved a whole bunch of money by pulling it myself. Some of you would say just have a shop do it, but I wanted to do it myself. It would make good video content, things like that, to save some money. I mean, it was about the shop that I was going to have, the shop that did the rebuild, the actual rebuild after I took the transmission or the transaxle to them, they wanted about $1,800 in labor to do the job. Okay, that's what they were going to charge me, and they said, you know what, if you can bring the transaxle to us, we'll rebuild it here on our bench, but you're going to have to obviously be responsible for the installation and stuff like that, the removal of the transaxle and things. So I the first time I bought the stage 2 kit from Triple Edge Performance. I bought the Max 1 transcooler, and so I had all the parts, and I just needed to get the transmission out. Well, after talking with a couple of people and getting some advice, I decided to go out the top, which worked out great. It actually did. There was a few moments where it looked pretty hairy, like I wasn't going to be able to do this. And I made some mistakes along the way. Like I said, there were some things like the the first time through, the passenger axle nut would not come off. And I worked on it, I cranked on it, I tried everything that I had to get that off. So what I ended up doing was I took the whole steering knuckle to a local shop, and they couldn't get it off. And I'm not joking. This is a, they had presses and they had all sorts of torches and all this other stuff. So what they ended up doing, I ended up having to sacrifice the wheel bearing as well as the axle. And I ended up, because I didn't want to have to go and try to find a knuckle. So I just decided I was just going to buy a new axle and a new wheel bearing. But so they ended up cutting it out. And it was that was the experience that I had, and I'm hoping that the gray car isn't going to give me the same problem, but you never know. I mean, it might. So those are issues that might come up. Um, there was one time when I actually had to set the motor down inside the engine bay, and it was sitting on the oil filter, and it put a hole right through the oil filter. And it leaked oil all over because I had to set it down to readjust the straps on the lift. That was my mistake. That was something that was a learning experience. Then you go through after all said and done, after the first time, and I reinstalled the transmission, got everything all put back together, except I didn't put the body parts back together or the hood or anything else. And it was, you guys maybe have seen those videos, but I did a video. I was pulling out of this old folks home, and I basically had no first gear at all. Nothing. It would just it would roll like it was in neutral a little bit, and then it would just slam into second gear. So this is after I spent all this time taking it all apart, putting it all back together. So I called the transmission shop, and believe me, I was expecting to get the ass end of the deal on this. Fortunately, they said, you know what? We'll pull it all apart. We'll see what the problem is. Just bring it back to us. We won't charge you for it. And I thought that was cool because I had brought them an aftermarket kit from Triple Edge. They could have easily said, well, it's not our parts, so we don't know if it might be one of your parts that's wrong or anything else like that. So in literally 2 days, I had the motor out, I had the transaxle unbolted, I had it in the trunk, actually the back seat of at the time, it was a Buick Century that I was driving. I had it in the back seat, took it out to the transmission shop. 2 days later, they called me and said it's ready. I honestly can't remember what was wrong with it. He said there was a hairline fracture in something, but I can't remember what exactly it was. They replaced the part for free. They put all the Triple Edge stuff back in. He inspected everything to make sure there was no damage to anything else. So I put the transaxle back in, put the motor back in, put all that stuff all back in, and then it perfect after that. No problems. Shifted firm, crispy, nice, beautiful, wonderful, awesomeness. It was just so great. It was so awesome to have the Pontiac back on the road. And so getting all that back together was just so awesome. But excuse me. So then the third time happens. You guys know, you guys saw the video footage. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that I had a rock go right through the oil filter. I was driving down the highway. I was almost to my exit, and I wish that I would have had it on camera, but at the time I didn't have my camera all set up because I was coming from my sister's, who lived over an hour away at the time, and I didn't want to have to talk for an hour or something. And this big, what I think was a rock, maybe fell out of somebody's pickup or something else like that. Whatever it was rolling down the highway. And I'm doing like 80 miles an hour down the highway, and this thing was rolling towards my car. So when you're going 80, you don't. And I had some comments about this too on some of my videos that I was posting. Oh, you should have just swerved or slammed on the brakes or everybody's got a solution to every problem when they aren't there. So it's unsafe to do that. There was quite a bit of traffic. You don't want to swerve and go off into the ditch. You're probably going to do worse, maybe possibly end up in a tree. So I just took the hit. I literally just took it. It went underneath the car, and it must have bounced up in such a way that it just, by coincidence, just slammed up and hit the oil filter. Well, I had another mile, basically, that I was driving on the highway. I thought, shit. Well, nothing was going on at the time. It wasn't like suddenly the car just stopped or anything. So I assumed, okay, well, whew, I'm safe. So got off my exit, got almost literally pulling into where I live, and the low oil light came on. It wasn't the low oil pressure, it was the low oil light actually came on. And when I saw that, immediately I turned off the car, put it in neutral, and I coasted all the way to almost where the driveway was. And pulled up right in front of the driveway and looked under the car, and there was oil underneath the car. It was actually a pretty good drip. And I was looking back where I was driving, and I could see the line of oil that I had left. And it's what pisses me off the most about the whole situation is the sensitivity to the low oil light is so bad. You have to be like 3 or 4 quarts low on oil before it even attempts to tell you. Same with oil pressure. I think the PSI setting for low oil pressure is like 10 PSI or something. It's fucking stupid. I mean, it's so low. If I had an oil pressure gauge and I saw it was down by 5 pounds, I'm pulling over to the side of the road to figure out what the hell's going on. Because if it doesn't normally run that low, then there's something is obviously going on. So if it would have warned me earlier that oil pressure was falling, then I would have pulled over to the side of the road to save the motor. But no. So the lifters get starved. Number 4, I believe, is the number that ended up seizing up on me. Well, after a bit of working on it in the garage, throwing some seafoam in it, doing some oil changes, things like that, I ended up getting the lifter unstuck, and great. But I think the damage was done at that point. Oops, sorry. Interesting. Weird. But yeah, I think the damage was done because I was driving home again from my sister's. It's like, 2 times driving home from my sister's and I have problems. I don't know if that route is cursed or what. I was driving home from my sister's. I don't remember even what the occasion was, but I was almost off the highway, and there was a big truck that was getting on the highway, and there was some traffic coming up in the left-hand lane. I had to get off in another exit, and this truck was going really slow, so I floored it to get around that truck so that I could get off my exit, and right then, I saw this big, huge poof of smoke out the tailpipe, because I was looking in my rearview mirror to see how close the traffic was coming up. And because I know that feeling, because I've had lifters seized up or collapsed or whatever, and the check engine light started flashing, I knew it right then. And it's like literally, it's funny to think this, and if Danielle's watching this, she's probably going to be laughing or think I'm crazy. But it literally felt like I broke up with somebody. And I'm not kidding, because I stopped when I had to make my turn because I was going to turn into a McDonald's to see what was going on. I stopped to make my turn, and I could feel the vibration. I knew it. I knew it right then at that moment that that I was basically fucked. Of course, pull it in, park it, open the hood, shit's flying out. because it was burning oil really bad. That lifter had seized up completely, and I just I felt dead inside because I'm like, not this shit again. And I tried and tried and tried and tried to free up that lifter. Ryan, I know you may be watching. He came out. We tried to work on it, and it sounds like it's something deeper in the motor. So, with everything that's been going on, with all this crap that's been going on, the decision that I ended up making eventually was to get a hold of a motor. The problem is getting a hold of a motor, and I could take the motor out of the Grand Prix, the black Grand Prix, strip it all the way down, do a complete rebuild, things like that. But I came across this ad for a Grand Prix that had blown tranny, but a rebuilt motor. And I contacted the seller. I was talking back and forth with him, and he showed me the paperwork where the motor was rebuilt because it has 180,000 miles on it. But the motor was rebuilt, but the trans, according to his paperwork, wasn't rebuilt at all. The trans was shot. The motor was good. So I thought to myself, I've got a couple options here. I could pull the motor out of Rocket, rebuild it from the ground up, and then reinstall it and be done with it, which would cost me probably about $2,500, maybe $3,000 if I did it all myself. Problem is I'm not too confident in actually doing a rebuild myself. I called some shops in the area. Said, if I bring this motor to you, how much will it cost if I need a rebuild, from the ground up? And a lot of them were like 3,000, 4,000. Some one even quoted me as being $5,000 to do the rebuild. And it would take like a month. And I'm thinking, what the hell? So I just decided that I was going to go the cheaper route and just basically find a good motor. The problem with finding a good motor is when you go on places like Craigslist or Marketplace or eBay, these places you don't know what you're getting. I mean, yes, when it was a running motor when it came out, but how do you know that it didn't have a lifter problem? How do you know there's not some issue with it? They can tell you day and night that, it had no problems, and then you get it all installed or whatever, and you find out that you got two dead cylinders. And then they'll say something like, well, it must have happened in the accident because it was working fine, whatever. They're they're free and clear. They got your money. They don't, when they say there's no explicit warranty, no guarantees, no blah, they're basically saying that if it doesn't work, they're not responsible. They got your money. That's all they care about. But anyways, so I wanted to get a motor that I knew actually worked. And when this listing came up with, getting this car that has a good motor in it, I decided that that's the route that I was going to go. And there were some other things that I wanted on it too. There's some interior parts in my car that are broke or not working, things like that. So I'm not just using it just for the motor. There's some other things that I want to get out of it. So yeah, and basically that's what I decided to do. So, but it's just been time, and right around the same time, my dad's health was deteriorating bad. He had his Jeep, the Grand Cherokee, um, and I was driving him a lot of different places. He loaned me the Jeep, and um, it just he ended up passing away this past January. It's been almost a year. And then I inherited the Jeep basically. So that's what I've been driving, and so I haven't been really too in a rush to say, well, I need to get a vehicle now because I don't have anything. So that's kind of another reason why it's been kind of on the back burner a little bit, unfortunately. But so it's it's been a long and windy road, that's for sure, when it comes to this car. But I decided that I don't want to just swap out the motors and be done with it. I actually want to do some top end work to it, because obviously with the rebuild, that's already been done to it. It's got stock everything. Yeah, likely. And I appreciate that. Um, so it's got all this stock stuff. I've really been wanting to just do an a top end, aftermarket kit, with some LS7 lifters or something else like that. Just buy the kit. They're right around $1,000, I think, and it's nothing too difficult. Something that I could do, over the weekend, installing the whole kit. And then I'll know that I'm not going to have this problem again. Even though displacement on demand was disabled, I think the damage was done. I think it was just only a matter of time before that lifter finally gave up the ghost, and it did, of course. So, I figured that if I, excuse me, get it out on an engine stand and do a top end rebuild on it, and then reinstall it or install it into the gray car, because it's um, gray car's got a rebuilt bottom end, so it's got new piston rings and things like that. And I've got almost damn near 180 on the black car on that motor, so I wouldn't want to rebuild the top end and then leave the piston rings like they are. It would take a whole kit and caboodle. So I figured that since this motor that I'm putting in it or swapping has about, I think it's 35,000 on the rebuild, that's awesome. I can just use the good bottom end, the rebuilt bottom end, and then just replace the top end parts. Give me a little more oomph and a little more reliability, and be able to go down that route. Just spend the grand for the the stage one kit or whatever they have for that. I know on Amazon there's a seller who sells complete LS4 top end kits. It's a physical DOD delete. I would just have to have somebody come out and tune the car for me. So if any of you out there are tuners in the Lansing area and you want to come out and disable the DOD for me and tune this particular motor for the parts that I'm putting in, because it's going to be a real mild cam and things like that. But it's a physical DOD delete. If you guys are interested in coming out and doing a quick tune for me, that would be awesome. I would really appreciate that, because obviously I can't drive it with a physical DOD delete. The computer would just be all confused. So it needs an actual tune. But so if anybody wants to, oh, cool, you got a great car. That gray was actually my second choice for getting a Grand Prix, and I'm really sad that I have to. I'm just basically scrapping the body. It's a good body, so I want it to go to somebody who's actually going to have use for it, not just go to some junkyard. And I have had a couple people ask me what they're interested in the body, so I may just do one of those things where I just say, here, you want to come, pick it up, take it, get it out of my garage. You're responsible for it. It's a salvage thing. I have the title, but I haven't done anything with it because I had no plans of getting it back on the road or anything else like that. But if somebody needs the body parts or whatever, or the whole car, I can work on getting it registered. It's not even a big deal, and then I can transfer the title over to you. But like I said, I had no plans on driving the gray car. It was just basically going to get scrapped out. But so yeah. Anyway, sorry about my dry throat and everything, but I don't know really what else to talk about. I'm trying to. I want to. I definitely want to get the car running before spring. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to drive it in the winter. There's some things that I need to that it needs a full. The black car needs a full detail. I mean, full, to make it look new again. There's some paint and some rust that's happening right in front of the the rear wheels that I need to get taken care of. But I did years back. I did call my local body shop and I asked them how much it would cost to actually fix that. It was like $1,000. I couldn't believe it. And they they basically said that they were gonna have to sand down the whole area, all around that area, and do the whole thing and make it paint match. And I'm sure it's some work, but $1,000, come on. Jeez. Um, so I, just never did that. Um, there's some other things that it needs, but jeez, I really miss driving it. I'm telling you what, I really miss driving that car so badly. It was such a thrill. It wasn't so much the speed, because by today's standards, Corollas are faster than that Grand Prix by today's standards. It's the way that it drives, the way that it sounds, the way that it rides, the way that it looks on the inside, that cockpit style design that they did for the last generation, the '04 to '08 Grand Prix. Something about the way the controls face you. And it just has a cockpit feel to it, the way that the seats feel. I know it sounds strange to some of you, but there's just something about that car that I just I I never bought it for sheer speed. Like, ooh, I got a fast car because I got a V8. I never bought it for that reason. Yes, it's faster than a stock Comp G, but you put $1,000 into a Comp G and you're going to get way more power than if you put $1,000 into the GXP. So I never did buy it for that. Never. It was never anything that the way that it looks, the way that it drives, sounds, smells. It was such an enjoyable experience. I enjoyed driving. I enjoyed it. I like going on long road trips. I really do, honestly. I can never be a truck driver, but I really enjoy going on long road trips. And the couple of times that I took the car up north, it was just bliss. I can't explain it. There's just such an enjoyable drive. You know, there's a lot that I hate about Michigan, believe me, but that's mainly in the politics side of Michigan. Um, Michigan's beautiful, and I absolutely love going up north. For those of you who don't live in Michigan, maybe you might not understand that terminology, that going north, going up north, going to the UP or something else like that. But where I live in Lansing is kind of a lower central Michigan, you know, and just getting on US 127 and driving north. And as soon as you see those first pines, those big pines that are on the side of the road, it's like, wow, we're going up north. And then I really feel up north, like up northy. I get that feeling of up northy past Mount Pleasant. Once we get past Mount Pleasant, which is kind of the big tourist kind of attraction city that's on the way up to the UP until you get to Mackinac. And then as soon as 127 ends and it turns into Highway 75, Interstate 75, it's like, wow. Danielle and I, it's over a year now. It was September of 18 when we went up to Copper Harbor, which is the northernmost city in Michigan. It's where Highway 41 actually ends, which starts all the way down in Florida, ends all the way up in the UP in Michigan. But it was just, it was heaven for me. It really was. The drive was amazing, and we picked the perfect day to go because it was just like these low level clouds were in, but they were small and they were moving really fast across the sky. And got a lot of great memories. A lot of great memories going up to Copper Harbor. The drive was awesome. It was a wonderful experience. So I like driving, but I especially like driving up north. I love that open road, wilderness kind of pine. I guess a lot of it's pine trees for me. When you start seeing the Michigan pines all over the place, all over the highway, and you start seeing the hills with nothing but trees, pines, all this stuff. You're coming up on the highway and you start to come down and you see nothing but wow. Especially in the UP. Oh my God, the UP is just wow. Waterfalls and oh geez. My heart is in Michigan, not the politics side of it. It's in Michigan itself, the physicalness of Michigan. And so one of these days I would love to be able to drive my Grand Prix all the way up to Copper Harbor. All the way. All the way. I actually proposed to Danielle. Those of you who don't know, I'll be married here in October of next year. And I proposed to her on Mackinac Island. I don't know if any of you out there are familiar with Mackinac Island, but Mackinac is a beautiful, beautiful place. It's an island. Obviously, you can get to it by ferry only. It's up by the Mackinac Bridge, obviously. Beautiful, beautiful island. And it's I proposed to her on Mackinac, and it's created a lot of great memories for us. And just driving up there and proposing, she had no idea that I was going to propose, and it was just awesome. What a wonderful experience. And I had my Sony cam set up on a tripod, and there was a perfect backdrop of the bridge because I was looking for a place. I was looking at the satellite images of the island, trying to find the perfect spot. And there's no beach really around the island. There's no real beach places. It's just grass and rocks and stuff like that. Thank you very much. Um, but I was looking for a perfect spot, and I was just walking, and I'm nervous. And then we found this perfect spot that had the bridge in the background, and I said, oh, this is perfect spot." So I told her that I wanted to set up my tripod so that we could get some like selfies, kind of. Basically, it was I would set the camera up on a timer. We would pose for the camera. The bridge would be in the background. It was perfect. I'm thinking about this stuff literally on the fly. I'm like, okay, so how can I do this as inconspicuous where she's not gonna have an idea? And it all just kind of flowed out as I was doing it, which I was really proud of myself, I guess. But it was absolutely perfect because when I was proposing, one of the ferries, one of the ferries was literally going behind us, and it cut across while I was proposing. It was like this perfect moment. I could not have asked for a better moment. I didn't even know that the ferry was there until I watched the video footage later because I was so focused on what I was going to say, what I was going to do, on her, and also stuff, trying to keep her, jumping through these hoops to the very last second. And so the ferry was rolling by at this perfect time, going towards the bridge, and oh my god, it was a perfect moment. So I have a lot of memories, and that's the way that I am as a person. Is things like that root me into nostalgia immediately, where I want to experience those, not necessarily the same exact feelings, but now Mackinac Island for me holds a very special place in my heart, and I want to go back. We're actually planning a trip in May around the same exact time for the weekend, and I want to go back and experience that again. Maybe not necessarily, obviously not necessarily proposing again, but just going back to that spot and enjoying what we've accomplished in the past year. And unfortunately, when we went up there that weekend, the first day was beautiful. I mean, it was mid-May, so you can't expect too much. The weather is really iffy around mid-May. It could be nice, it could be rainy. I mean, the spring for Michigan is typically really rainy. So the first day that we were up there, when we got to the island and checked in, it was beautiful, it was gorgeous, and it was a perfect day. The second day, unfortunately, it rained most of the day, and then the third day was kind of the same. I think it was actually a little bit worse because the ferry ride, even the guy that was running the ferry when we were heading back to the state, the ferry guy is like, "You guys are in for a bumpy ride," and uh, so he said something else about getting wet or something else like that because we were on the top deck. We weren't on the very top deck. We were in the middle deck, I guess. Because the ferries were packed. They always are. In the mornings, on the weekends, they're packed. People trying to get off the island because they're going back to life and stuff like that. So they're always packed. But so we rode the ferry back, and it was about 25 minutes of some really, it was, but it was still, to me, even still, with that, it was an awesome experience. I would love to do that again. Love to do it again because it was so foggy out, you couldn't see anything. And I had the perfect view of the radar screen because we were really right behind the wheelhouse, right behind it, directly behind it. So I had this perfect view of the radar, and they were watching things, and it was just so cool. It was just amazing. And it's just like the trip that we went up to Copper Harbor. The first when we were on our way, when we were on 127 and we were heading into 75, it was so foggy you couldn't see anything, but it was beautiful. It's one of those things that you don't like, the clouds. It's just everything's just seemed to be so perfect that day. And we got up the next morning, and I had, at the time, I had my DSLR, and I was taking pictures of the island or early in the morning, so it was dark, and I was doing long exposure shots, and the sound of the beach. Oh man, I wish I could go back there right now. I know I'm getting off topic here, but I'm reliving all this stuff in my mind, and that's just the way that my mind works. But I would love to take the Grand Prix north. I would love to go up to Copper Harbor. Love it. If you ever get the chance to go up to Copper Harbor, don't go. I recommend that you don't go in the summer. The reason is because it is a tourist place in the summer, and black flies. They bite. They're terrible. They're horrible. But the Copper Country Trail, the peak of the Copper Country Trail, where you can oversee everything, is gorgeous. The town, it's got friendly people. They've got antique shops there, and it's just, oh wow, just to be away. It's beautiful up there. Oh, I want to go up there now. But I know that's not possible. So anyways, um, so I'm a Michigan. My heart is in Michigan, and I'm hoping that when Danielle and I build our house, I'll be able to take some of that with me. That I'll be able to have that Michigan feeling, those big pine trees, just to have that feeling. I'm really hoping. But anyways, so whew, reliving a lot of good memories. I have made a lot of good memories with Danielle. We've been together for almost 2 years now, and a lot of great memories. So yeah, I mean, it's been wonderful, and I hope that we can still continue to go up north and do things. I want to be able to travel the country, not just go up north, but I want to be able to travel the country. I want to get an RV. It seems like lately, I think in this day and age, 2019, 2020, the RV thing is, yes, around the holidays, you'll see on the highway, you'll see people have motorhomes and RVs, but it's not what it was in its peak during the 70s and the 80s. My grandpa, I miss him a lot. I miss my grandpa so much. And probably get all teared up now just thinking about it. My grandpa was the coolest guy in the world. And he had a 19. So the thing is I've got a photograph of their motorhome that I have the fondest memories in. Um, it says on the photograph it's a 1984 Champion Titan motorhome. However, all of the research that I've done on a 1984 Champion Titan motorhome, they don't look like that. It's based on a Chevy chassis. Maybe you guys can help me out with that. If I have to, I can get a picture to show you. But a lot of the 1984 Champion motorhomes, they don't look anything like what my grandpa's motorhome did. And the closest that I can get to is it's a 1981 Champion Titan motorhome, but I can't find them anywhere. And I get it. It probably most, if not all of them, are in a graveyard somewhere. But to be able to actually see one again, that would be so awesome. I've got so many memories. We would go to Cedar Point because we live in Michigan. Cedar Point is in Sandusky, Ohio. It's about 4 hours to get from here to Cedar Point, about a 4 hour drive. So we would stay at Camper Village. They don't have that anymore at Cedar Point, sadly, because again, not very many people, they don't RV as much as they used to. So they got rid of Camper Village, but we would get up real early in the morning the most fondest year that I remember Cedar Point was I was 6 years old. Six. My cousins, their girlfriends, of course, my parents, we all loaded up in this motorhome. So there would have been two, four, six, there would have been seven of us. We loaded up in this motorhome, my grandpa's motorhome, and we drove down there. Wonderful experience. I was only 6 years old. Just great experience, and it's I remember it's weird the things that you remember in your life. I could hardly remember anything else from being age 6, but for some reason I remember vividly that motorhome and the things that my dad had to do to it to prep it to go to Cedar Point. Because my grandpa, as he got older, he used it for fishing. So what he would do is he'd pull his boat with it. In the early days when they had it, they would go on family trips. I have a lot of pictures when they were in Washington, D.C., Arkansas. All my family on that side, on my mom's side, they're all from Arkansas. They're all from Arkansas. So they would go on family reunion trips and things like that. And Dogpatch, if you guys, any of you know anything about Arkansas, Dogpatch, Arkansas is, my cat unplugged my, this thing uses a lot of power while it's, maybe, but Dogpatch, Arkansas, that's where my family on that side was from. I got a lot of old pictures of Dogpatch. Just amazing stuff. So my grandpa would use the RV and pull his boat, and he'd go fishing a lot. Lake Michigan. I've got this awesome picture. The year that I was born, got this awesome picture. He's got this bass that's big, huge bass, just crazy huge, and so he would basically stay in a camp and stay overnight, and he'd have the motorhome, and he would do that a lot himself, or for some friends, or my uncles would go with him, my cousins would go with him. They would do that frequently, and then he just got older, and it just wasn't something that he was doing all that much. Sadly, my mom was the youngest in all four of the kids. She was an oops. So my grandpa was already well into his 70s when I was born. And, it just, I didn't get to experience my grandpa as much as my cousins did. And my cousins are 10 years older than me. So they got to enjoy my grandpa a lot more than I did. But check my battery, make sure I'm still good here. Yeah, it looks like I am. But so anyway, so he didn't drive it as much. He didn't use the generator all that much. So my dad had to not rebuild the generator, but he had to change the oil in it, and he had to put a new spark plug in it because it was really hard to start, and then it wouldn't run for very long. So he had to, and I remember the motorhome was parked on the street in our neighborhood. So he was out there working on the generator, and this is gonna sound so ridiculous to you guys, but I was a kid. I didn't know. I was just a stupid kid. But the motorhome had an upper deck that was above the driver and the passenger. It had this upper deck sleeping area, and it had windows up there. And the windows slid back so that it had a screen, so that you could literally ride. It wasn't designed for that. Looking back, that's definitely not something that they would allow today. But you could ride in that. My sister and I would, in the later years, when she was big enough to go to Cedar Point, we would ride up top, and so you'd see above everything. And but there's a window that slides open, and it's a screen door. And I remember I was up in the top during the daytime, and these two girls, I honestly don't even remember how old they were. They were younger, probably my age. These two girls were walking on the sidewalk on the opposite side of the road, and I was such a dick because I yelled out there, Ha ha, we're going to Cedar Point and you're not. Ha ha. And I was just bully. I was a punk. It was so stupid looking back. It's funny, but it's also stupid. And they kind of stood there while I was saying ha 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 ha, all this other stuff. And I was like, hey, we're going to Cedar Point to ride all the rides, and you're not. You're going to be stuck here. And I'm saying all this crap. And just so stupid. But we were so excited. We had this huge motorhome. It was big. It was a big motorhome. It had a bedroom in the back with a queen size bed, good size room. And we we had a pretty decent sized bathroom in it, and it could sleep. I think 8 was the maximum because you could have 2 or 3 up top. Had a fold out couch which would sleep, I think, 2 or 3. And then it had like a lazy boy chair that you could fold out and sleep in, and then of course I had the queen size in the back. So it was a pretty decent size. It wasn't like modern RVs where they got the slide outs and all this other crap that comes off the damn things like a transformer. And it had a 454 big block carbureted V8, and I can remember a couple times when we'd get ready to go or something else like that, and I would pretend that I was driving it, and of course I would push on the gas. Well, with a carbureted engine, you'd flood the bowl basically, and then it wouldn't start. So my mom was, "Don't do that. You're gonna flood. You're gonna flood it. You're gonna flood it. Don't do that." I could never understand why. Why can't I do that? It's not running. But it had a microwave in it. My dad brought his stereo equipment. Um, he set up all of his speakers inside this thing because he had to have them. So he had a CD player and his radio and all this other stuff. And it was really funny. There's this great memory. We were at Cedar Point all set up, and my dad was hooking into the power at Camper Village. And my cousin was hitting the power button on the stereo because he wanted to listen to the radio, and it wasn't coming on because my dad didn't have the generator on because he was going to be hooking up to the park's power. And so he must have not realized that what my dad was doing. So he told my cousin Brandon to go up and hit the start button on the generator. And so he does. He goes up there, hits the start button on the generator, and we hear really loud, "Hey!" And then he's, "Oh shit!" And he hit, whatever. And of course, my dad came in. He's like, "What the?" Whatever, because he was hooking up the power. So it's like, it's just, I just remember that, and they were all like hiding. My dad was a pretty intimidating guy back then. But that same year, I remember I was getting out of the shower, and my cousins kind of picked on me a little bit. I was only 6 years old, and they were teenagers, and I think they were like 15 or 16 years old, something like that. And I was standing by the door, the side entry door. My mom was trying to get me some underwear or something. I don't remember the situation, but I had just a towel on. And my one of my cousins, one of the two, opened up the door, and one of them pulled down the towel. So I'm standing there naked, and one of the two said something like, "Ooh, there's that girl you were looking at or whatever. She's right there." And of course, I just started bawling my eyes out. I was so devastated because I thought some girl had seen me naked or something. I just, it's weird. And it's funny because the girlfriends of my cousins were in the RV. It's like, I didn't care if they saw me naked, but some random strange girl out walking by, that was devastating to me. But um, I remember playing cards on the card table while we were driving. The toll road, the 8090 toll road that's in Ohio, that's how we would get to Cedar Point from Lansing. We'd take the 8090. And of course, it was a toll road. And we would always go in July. So there was always a lot of traffic. So I can remember my mom shushing us. My dad had laid out all this cash because the 454, in order to get to it, like most motorhomes around that time or whatever, you would have this middle partition that that you basically lift this box off, and that would give you access to the motor. It was between the driver and the passenger seat. So they laid out all this cash um, for the tolls that we were going to have to pay. I don't even honestly know why they laid out the cash, but my cousin Dane, who was the older one, he had the toll ticket in his hand, and they were trying to figure out how much it was going to cost and whatever. And traffic was pretty backed up. I do remember that. So my mom's like, "Shh, your dad and Dane, they're focusing on drive. Don't bother them." And I'm seeing all this money out, all this cash, because you didn't have credit. You had credit cards, but my parents didn't have credit cards. It was a checkbook or cash. That's basically what it was. So they had all this cash laid out, and I just remember my mom saying, "Shh, they're focusing on driving. They're focusing on." I don't know why, but I don't know if I was just asking too many questions or something else like that. I don't have any idea, but I remember I was so jealous of Dane sitting in that passenger seat. I wanted to be a part of the action, whatever was going on. I wanted to be the command center and all this stuff. I just remember how mad I was at him. I was just really, really mad. It's like he's the one who's having all the fun, and I'm just sitting here being shushed. But it's so funny. I don't know. It's just the things that you remember. It's crazy. But fondest memories of that motorhome. And I want to be able to experience the same stuff with my kids. I really do. They're getting older. They're not getting younger. They're getting older. So I keep thinking to myself, someday, someday, someday. But I'm afraid that someday it's going to be too late. But we can't have everything in our lives. We can't be able to get everything. So I understand. I'm not upset or sad or disappointed or regretful that I don't have an RV right now and I can't take my family cross country or anything else like that. But if it's in the cards, then I'm definitely gonna jump on it. Definitely. It's funny because Danielle, she's like, I don't want to get an old motorhome. I want to get one for the nostalgia. I know they're old. I get it. You don't see too many old RVs, motorhomes on the road. You just don't. And whenever I see one, I'm like, whoa, and I'm watching it go by. I'm weird like that. I'm so weird like that. All these modern fancy motorhomes. Oh yeah, they're basically homes on wheels. I get it. Technology and design has come a long way since the 70s and the 80s. But to be able to step foot inside that motorhome again and just look around, I can almost smell the smell. I can remember the smell of it because my grandparents used plastic on all their furniture. That was a baby boomer, or not even a baby boomer thing. That was my grandparents were, World War II era grandparents, and they put plastic on all their furniture and stuff. So they had plastic on everything. This thing's annoying. They they put plastic on everything, and it's just uh, the smell, the sound. The motorhome had this weird squeak that pissed my dad off so much that he couldn't figure out where the hell it was coming from. Something in the front end. He did everything that he could possibly do, and I still remember him when I was sitting in the passenger seat during the daytime before we left, and I can hear him just cursing away, just letting it rip because he's like, I've done every mother, and all this other stuff, and I hear I'm sitting here 6 years old in the passenger seat, just listening to him because he couldn't figure out where the squeak was coming from. And it's just one of those things, and he was good with cars, really good with cars. So it's not like it was beyond his abilities to diagnose and figure it out. I mean, he put a big block, he put a 427. He pulled out his small block 400 and his 78 Cheyenne and put a 427 big block in it. I mean, he knew his way around cars, vehicles, and everything. He was literally a godsend when it came to breaking down vehicles because I learned a lot from him. Anything that needed to be done with the cars, he did it. So it was a valuable asset when it comes to vehicles. I just remember sitting there and he could not figure it out. I don't know where the squeak's coming from. I don't know. And it would only happen when he hit a bump. He's like, I've checked all the suspension. whatever. So anyway, there was just that squeak that would happen in the front end somewhere. For all we know, is in the dash. I mean, we just don't know. But um, the it was just really nice, and I used to take so much pride in starting the generator. When you got a big trip, it's like Christmas Eve when you're waiting for Santa Claus. You can't sleep. So of course, when we're leaving early in the morning, we were leaving at anytime we went to Cedar Point, we'd leave early in the morning, like 4 a.m. Because my dad wanted to get to Sandusky by about 8:30. He wanted to beat the traffic. So, but it seems like no matter what we did, we'd always get stuck in traffic. But um, so of course we couldn't sleep at all. You never can. You can never sleep before a big day like that. And oh yeah. So uh the I practically, I mean, I remember wearing my pajamas because it was so early. My parents expected, or my mom expected, that I was probably gonna fall asleep on the way there. You get all this adrenaline built up because you're all excited, and then and that's exactly what ended up happening anyway. We would fall asleep. But so I just I remember running out to the motorhome. It's pitch black outside, and my dad's got the interior lights on that run on battery because he was up long before us. My mom didn't want to wake us up until the last possible minute, so he was already out there going over some final things, getting ready for the trip. My cousins were all around, and they were already in the motor home, and so my mom and I hated that feeling of being the last in the house. I hated it. I felt like I was being left behind. I felt, and I was so mad at my mom, but so excited at the same time that I couldn't really complain about it because I just ran. I felt like the house is not exciting. It's old. It's like an old pair of shoes or something like that. Where that's bleh, who cares about that? The motorhome is where I want to be, and so she would always wait to the last second. Where basically she was the one who locked up, and I would always get so frustrated because I wanted to be out there with all the action, where it was all happening, where the motorhome was at, all this other stuff. But my dad always let me start the generator. Always. There was this big red button that was in the middle of the dash, right plain in the middle, that said generator start. And so he would let me start the generator. So I would run in. Of course, he probably started it to make sure it started just fine before, while I was sleeping. But I'd run in, and I would um, sit down in the passenger seat, and I'd reach over, and it was like a toggle switch. So it was it was a three position switch. So the middle was run, and then if you pushed it all the way up, it was start, and it would light up when it was in the run position. So the overhead lights, I don't remember what kind of lights they call them. It's like mood lights or something like that. They'd run on battery, and then as soon as the generator started, then everything would come on. The plugs, so the radio and all this other stuff would all come on. But so I'd be all thrilled because I would hit the start button, and then when the red light came on, the generator was running, and then the high-powered lights would come on. So it'd get really bright inside the motorhome, and oh, what a feeling! And then I just sit there. Of course, my cousin would kick me out of the passenger seat because he was the oldest. My mom didn't care about riding in the passenger seat really. She was more of taking care of the things in the back, kind of so to speak, while my dad focused on driving. And then of course my big bad cousin, he would take the passenger seat because he was the oldest. And I used to get so mad because I couldn't be a part of it. And they didn't really want me, understandably, even back then I would understand, they didn't want me walking around while he was driving because that's not really all that safe. Even though if he got into an accident in a motorhome, it's unlikely that something too serious would happen. But still, just for safety. So I would spend most of my time up above in the bunk above the driver passenger, um, and usually fall asleep for most of the way. And my mom would always yell at me Whenever we made a stop or anything else like that. But I have a lot of fond memories of the Hardee's that's on the 8090 that heads towards Sandusky. There's a Hardee's, and we would stop there. It was like a kind of a truck stop kind of deal, where you could gas up, and they had a Hardee's there. They still do. A lot of memories of we would always stop at that Hardee's and get food because it was open 24/7, which was kind of unusual for anything back then. But it was kind of a truck stop, so a lot of that stuff was open 24/7. So we get down there around 6:30 in the morning, and they would be open. They would have breakfast going, so we would stop there and we would eat, and it was awesome. Walking in my pajamas with with my family while we're ordering Hardee's. Just weird as it sounds, those are some very fond memories that I have. The point at which you first see that sign that says Cedar Point, my mom would always call it out. She would always say, "Be on the lookout. We're almost there," because she knew. Back then we didn't have GPS or anything. We relied on maps, and I can remember all the maps. The Ohio map that was out. There was one time my dad overshot on the turnpike, overshot the exit, because there's two exits that you can get off of to get to Cedar Point, and or there's three exits. I honestly can't remember. Somebody will know. But he overshot an exit or something, and we had to turn around. And it's so funny because my dad's like, "Look in the back, see if there's any cops. Look in the back. You got this big freaking RV just right in the middle, barely fits between the two highways. What are we going to do if there's a cop that pulls up? What are we going to just take off in an RV?" I mean, what? I just thinking back, I mean, this is so funny to think about that kind of stuff. What are you going to do in an RV when a cop pulls up? Be on the lookout for the cops. This is like giving my dad a 15-second or 20-second heads up. Oh, yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, so I remember that. I remember I was all scared. Are we going to get pulled over? Or are we going to go to jail? All this other, stuff is going on in my mind and things like that. And it's just funny. But, so, yeah, we would, my mom would always, we're almost there. Look for the sign. Thank you. Thank you very much. But we would look for the sign that said Cedar Point, and we'd get all excited because we'd see the roller coasters because of the peninsula. It was Cedar Point's on a peninsula, so they've got this crossway that runs all the way, and super exciting. Those are good memories. I miss those days. I wish there was a way that I could relive those memories. We're talking 30 years ago or over. I wish there was a way that I could put myself in some kind of a memory trance or something else like that to be able to recall those and re-experience that kind of stuff. Not just, through just thought or whatever. What's up, Ryan? Yeah, I haven't done a video on this for a while, but you got my gears turning for that car. But anyway, good memories. I miss my grandparents, mainly my grandpa. He was young at heart, that tough as nails World War II vet, didn't take shit from anybody, just real awesome guy. He was actually a drill sergeant in World War II in the Army. So he knew his way around. He was a tough guy, and I definitely miss him. Miss him a lot. But so anyway, got off on a tangent. I'm sorry, guys. Kind of memories and stuff that are popping up. All sorts of things. Life is really short. We don't think about it all that often, but life can end at any moment. I can have a heart attack and die in my sleep. I could be on my way to work tomorrow morning and some drunk driver T-bone me and take me out. That's awesome. I like hearing about those stories. But life is so short, and we tend to get all caught up in things that we're doing, and then we don't stop to take a deep breath. I'm guilty of that. You know, I'm working hard to build a business so that I can give my kids and my family things that I never had. I went through some really shit times when my dad decided that he wanted to go into law enforcement. And all those good memories that I was just telling you about, soon after that, everything went to shit. Because soon after that, my dad, the whole story is that he got pulled over and he was pissed off about it. He said, I want to be a cop so that I can get out of doing these tickets or getting these tickets. All right, you too, Aaron. Thank you very much. But the pay wasn't nearly as good as General Motors. The insurance wasn't as good as General Motors. He thought he was doing what he wanted to do, and turned out to be a mistake. So for about 10 years of my life, between the age of 7 and 17, we didn't have anything. Lived in a trailer park. It was terrible. It was real bad. It was hard times. It really was. I know people have it worse. I'm not saying that I had it the worst of anybody, but it was some real hard times. And gotta check my time here because I do have to go to bed. But so, anyways, yeah, it was tough. So I want my kids to have the things that I never had. And I think they do have a lot of that, but I don't want it just for my kids. I want to be able to have the things that Danielle can enjoy. Work hard. Work in doing. I enjoy doing what I do. I do. I really do. There's a fair amount of stress involved, but it's good stress. I'm my own boss and things like that. So I'm responsible for my own success. And I want to be able to have the things that I never imagined or dreamed that I could ever have. And that's happening with my business. PowerJack was probably the best thing that's ever happened in my life as far as success, finance, things like that. And I'm extremely thankful for the opportunities that I've had. Extremely thankful for working with PowerJack. I take great pride in the work that I do. It's very rewarding for me to take some of these things, find out what's wrong with them, repair them. It's a good feeling. It's a real good feeling. And so I enjoy what I do. But I'm building myself to have land and a house that I want. Danielle, she wants the same things. She's got a good job. She's very happy with her career, and so we're building this together. And life is just too damn short to accept mediocrity, to just be in a stagnant part of your life. Not everybody can get out of it. I understand that, but if you're in a job, a dead end job, if you're in a dead end relationship, if you're just not going anywhere, but you know that you can do more, you can do better, do it. Work towards it. Baby steps if needed. Start working in that direction. I thought I was going to be stuck in retail for the rest of my life. Well, until I retired, which would have been at age probably 65 or even 70 at the rate that Social Security is going. So I thought I was in it for another 35 years of retail, dealing with the same crap every day, the monotony of doing the same thing every day. I thought that was my life. I thought that's what I was going to be. I thought that's everything. And then not only did Danielle come along, but also PowerJack came along. Transformed my life in such a way that I can't even put it into words. I'm happier. I'm just, my dreams are much more accessible now. I don't feel paycheck to paycheck anymore like I did. My perceptions have changed as far as finances are concerned. My responsibilities have changed or improved. And I'm working hard to continue that trajectory, not to just say, okay, well, I've got everything now, and that's good enough. I'm continuously building this business, trying to strengthen my relationship with PowerJack, despite everything that's going on between China and the United States. We put politics aside. We have a good working relationship. So do what you want to do. Be happy. Work hard. Start your own business. It may not work for everybody, but I was feeling so afraid to make that leap that I was willing to accept mediocrity just because I was afraid that if I made the leap, I would fall to my death. And I regret not doing it a long time ago. And you always hear those stories about people saying that. But it's true. If you have the opportunity to improve your life, do it. If you have the opportunity to be happy, even if you think that the worst is going to happen, you have to take a chance. You have to. If you truly want to be happy and get the most out of what we, for all we know, is the only existence we have, if you want that, you absolutely have to work for it. It doesn't just fall in your lap. People have dreams about winning the lottery and stuff like that, but that's not going to be you. It's not going to be me. You know, I mean, even in the toughest times, you have to appreciate what's around you. You appreciate your family. Appreciate my family, my mom. Appreciate her very much. There's a lot of things that I wish I could have said to my grandparents before they passed. A lot of things I wish I could have done. You know, you just get all tied up in your own world, and then when parts of your world disappear, you're full of regret. So, you know, take the leap, reach out, do something better with your life. You can do it. It's going to take work. It's not going to be easy, you know, but you can do it. I've done it and I'm still doing it. I'm still building my business up, my everything. Because one day I want to be able to look out the window of my house and see all those trees and deer running across and things like those are my dreams. Everybody has their own dreams. Not everybody can achieve their dreams. I get it, but try. I've had a lot of support in my life, support from people from this channel, from my other channel, from family. I made bad decisions in my life. Who hasn't? I've learned from those decisions. That's good. And you just keep moving forward. So, like anything else, I take the criticism, especially on this channel. I mean, some of the comments that I get, it's literally like I'll have a 10-minute video and somebody will watch a minute of it and then just immediately comment and move on like they've seen the whole thing. That's the internet. Patience is thin. People just want to leave their mark and move on. And that's just the internet. I'm used to it. So used to it now. But yeah, I think I'm going to call it a night. Appreciate all your support. I am going to get the Grand Prix fixed. You can count on it. But I want to do it right. I want to get the videos out so that you can see it, watch it, enjoy it. We got the new 360 camera that's coming. It's a full 360, so it's all over, not just from the camera front. So I'll be doing drive-along videos here real soon. It'll be in the Jeep. It won't be in the Grand Prix, but I promise that eventually it's going to be in the Grand Prix when that's all done. So you'll be able to see some of my road rage. I'm a lot more conservative now than I used to be, or more laid back. Mellow, I guess. But I still see a lot of stupid stuff, and I'm still going to call it. You're a stupid driver, I'm going to call you on it. Simple as that. So you guys are going to be in the passenger seat while I do that. Again, it may not be in the Grand Prix yet, but it will be eventually. And so we're going to be having some fun. Ryan, I appreciate that. I'm thinking that January, it's going to be a Saturday. We're going to tackle this. And obviously, I'm going to need help. If I want to get this on video, I can't just rush right through and do that. It's going to have to be, I'll do all the pre stuff and all that other stuff to get that going. But if you want to help, I got all the tools to do it. We can probably get the motor out in a day together, and we'll have some fun doing it. But obviously, I want to get it step by step on camera, step by step. And since I have basically a complete car that I can do, because the Black Grand Prix is missing bolts and nuts and parts and pieces and all this other stuff, I can do a proper step by step so that you guys can see me pull the motor out. And it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to enjoy it. I enjoy it. I really do. I like working on the car. I do. I enjoy it. It's one of those things that I miss. You know, nobody misses a car breaking down, obviously, but something like this, you know, I enjoy it. I really do. So, yes, I just like to take things apart, figure out how they work, put them back together, things like that. Just like my dad. He was always that way. So, anyway. So yeah, I'll see if I can get something planned. I'll see if I can get a good Saturday. We can make some good headway, spray some PB Blast on like the axle nuts, and try to do my best to get everything all prepared, all the ducks in a row, so that when we hit this, we hit it hard, we get it done right, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So again, thanks for all your support. Thanks for everything. Over the years, over the past 10 years, you guys have been awesome. Whether you follow my renewable energy, by the way, Gentry Solar is my renewable stuff. That's going to stay there. This is the car stuff. That's going to stay here. So, oh, that's too bad. But, yeah, I appreciate everybody. You're all awesome. And I'm looking forward to continuing this channel and doing stuff. And the drive along videos, I think, are going to be a lot of fun, because you guys will be able to hear me complain about all those other drivers out there. Woo! Ugh. Tell you what, there's a guy that I give a ride home from work a couple days a week. Actually, just one day a week. And it's like, I don't know what it is, but I guess it's because of where I work. I'm just in a bad mood when I leave. So then everybody on the road sucks. Seems like I always get behind that old grandma that just rides in the left-hand lane everywhere. Or, I'm just like, people get out of my way. I need to get home. Anyways, so I will catch you guys on the next video. I've got some stuff out in the garage that I have to do. And then I'll get the car back in the garage. And, we will go from there, and I'll start tearing it apart. And Ryan, if you want to give me a hand, that'd be great. You know, even if it's just for a couple hours hanging out, helping me with camera shots and angles and, you know, whatever. I think it'd be fun. I aim to be the only YouTube video that, you know, pulling an LS4 out the top. That was my plan before. It didn't work out, but this time it will. So we're going to do this. And then I'll be doing the drive along videos in the Grand Prix. I'll do some other videos of like parts and stuff like that, because I still need to get like the head-up display out. There's other things I need to do that were on my bucket list. We'll do that. We'll take care of it. We'll have some fun. That's the point. I appreciate your support. Everything you guys do. You guys are awesome. You know, just keep fighting for success and to be happy and things like that. Just do that. So I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Hope everything was great for your family and everything else. Hope you're enjoying everything. You're enjoying your weekend. And, yeah. We'll catch you on the next video for sure. Look forward to it. And as always, take care.